In 12 on Health, doctors say this wet weather can be sickening, literally. They say it's not unusual for them to treat residents for respiratory issues when homes flood and mold spores move in.
Now, mold is known to wreak havoc on folks with mold allergy or an underlying respiratory issue like asthma.
Here's our 12 on Health reporter, Gillian Neff.
Guys, it is tough to get rid of as well. Doctors say simply wiping mold away with a damp sponge isn't going to take care of the problem. You'll need bleach or another chemical that kills mold. Plus, they say if mold is visible, chances are more mold is hidden. Another round of rain soaks southwestern Connecticut.
The ground is saturated. There is water that's kind of pushing up through people's foundations right now.
Bob Knight of Stamford-based RTK Environmental Group says if water gets in, get it out right away.
Mold loves to grow in this kind of an environment, especially a wet basement. It's the perfect environment. It likes cool, humid areas with a lot of cellulose material, so boxes, wallboard, carpeting, furniture.
You can see here how mold multiplies.
Take the pictures, get the water out, then contact your insurance adjuster.
Dr. Syed Reza of Norwalk-based occupational health care says some people get sick the moment they're exposed to a mold infestation.
Sneezing, wheezing, runny nose, itchy eyes, nasal congestion. Obviously headaches, fatigue. There are some people who can have allergic reactions to cause wheezing to an extent where they can't breathe, and that can lead to death.
Sump pumps are one of the most important tools in preventing flooding and mold in basements.
As for the outside of your home,
The top quarter of the house doesn't have gutters. This is actually problematic because the gutters actually pull the water away from the house and the foundation.
Bob Knight also says make sure you can hook that sump pump up to a generator if you lose power. And when it comes to mold testing, you probably want to use a company that doesn't also specialize in mold removal to avoid the obvious conflict of interest.
Really sick. It's just that they didn't clean.
Into a disaster for a family from Mandarin. On your side, Zach Wilcox is joining us.
Like, oh my God, we're going to be really sick. It's just that they didn't clean the hotel room, obviously, and how long has this been here?
A Sawgrass Marriott hotel visitor wanted to protect her identity and not show her face, but she wanted to make sure her family's experience wasn't swept under the rug. She says she spent 2 nights at the Ponte Vedra Beach Hotel celebrating her birthday and the 4th with her husband and daughter. They spent most of the expensive vacation under the weather, and they think they figured out why as soon as they stepped out on the balcony.
When you pay over $300 a night for a hotel room, you expect to see something a little bit better than black mold all over the walls.
She says when she brought the issue to management, they told her she could wait 8 hours until another room was available and they'd move them, but they wouldn't issue any refunds. The family chose not to spend another minute in that room and headed home to salvage what they could of the holiday weekend. A Sawgrass Marriott manager told me he couldn't comment on the situation.
Mold like that does not grow overnight. It's a dark mold.
I sent this picture to Mark Mongan, an environmental specialist with TCB EnviroCorp. He says based on what he sees, he's not surprised to hear this family experience symptoms within just a few days of being in the room.
I probably get 5 to 10 calls a month like this. And this is a very common problem in vacation rentals and hotels. They do not want to lose revenue.
Well, this family already lost $1,400 on the spoiled vacation. She wants it comped, but that's not even her biggest concern.
It's a health hazard, and it definitely needs to be taken care of before another family has to experience it.
In Ponte Vedra Beach, Zach Wilcox, First Coast News, on your side.
Lafayette man is pointing the finger at his apartment complex over what appears to be black mold.
He lives at University Place Apartments and is calling his apartment a biohazard. Micah Hatfield takes us inside and also finds out what the complex is doing. All new tonight.
Kelly Jenkins entered his bedroom for the first time in a week at University Place last Friday to find standing water from a leaky pipe.
That's when I looked into my bedroom and there was just mold everywhere. There was still about 1.5 inches of standing water there.
He says his clothes, laptop, furniture, and books are all covered with mold, and he now has a rash and a cough. Jenkins says he reported the problem on Friday to management and University Place Apartments, and several times since then.
They just come in, look at the mold, and leave. The first attempt was they sent a maintenance guy with a spray bottle of bleach to come in and get rid of the mold, but you can't do that with this amount of mold.
Management tells us they've offered Jenkins several places to live, but he's declined.
They tried to start moving him out of that apartment right away on Monday. I mean, they did. And like I said, I know that they went to offer him a couple different apartments right away, and he wanted to go back to his original one. He actually, I was told he actually chose to stay in his original unit, even though he knew it was unsafe for him to remain there.
I really don't have any place to go in Lafayette.
In Lafayette, Micah Hatfield, KATC, TV3.
And just before news time, management at University Place Apartments releasing an additional statement to us, telling us that they will be forcing Jenkins to vacate his apartment, citing concerns for his health. They tell us he has been given keys to another unit.
Tonight,
family has been living in a hotel for 2 weeks after finding mold in their home, and they're worried this could be just the beginning. When you ask, we investigate. Contact 13 investigative reporter Stephanie Zeppelin has more.
The shower is where you go to clean up, but Joseph Jaffer's shower area was a big mess. They spotted a leak and said a handyman from their rental company came to fix it and found all of this.
And he just tore the wall apart and exposed the mold and then said, hey, it's 5 o'clock, I gotta go home.
Someone came and tested the air for mold, and Joseph says they found high levels all over the house, not just in their room. They took clothes for a few days, but have been living in a hotel for 2 weeks because they're afraid of the mold in the air.
My son's getting picked on because he has like 3 shirts and 2 pair of pants that he has to rotate and make look new every day because all of our clothes is here covered in mold.
I just feel sad, mad, it's hard.
They left some prescriptions inside, and this is what he had to wear to go back inside to get them. So we reached out to their rental company. They said they sent a certified company to do mold remediation and offered to let them out of their lease. They also promised me they would go back to the house and take out more mold. Mold is a habitability issue, so you should send your landlord written notice and give them 14 days to clean it up. If they don't, you can take further legal action, such as withholding rent. Stephanie Zeppelin, 13 Action News.
And we looked into this story after a viewer emailed us. If you have a story you would like us to investigate, just send us an email to 13investigates@ktnv.com and be sure to include your telephone number.
Have brought you into the Silver Oaks apartments in East Tampa, showing you the conditions that neighbors had to deal with. We've also shown the impact that news coverage has brought.
Yeah, tenants have gotten appliances replaced. They've had complaints that have been addressed. But one thing that has not been fixed yet is the mold. 10 Tampa Bay's Malik Rankin joining us now with the health issues, Malik, that some of these tenants say they're now facing.
That's right. I spoke with a tenant today. She tells me she and both of her kids are sick. Their symptoms consistent with mold exposure. With this problem ongoing for years now, a handful of Silver Oaks residents are looking to jointly file a lawsuit against the property management company, Cambridge Management, Inc. There is currently no federal or state laws that hold landlords accountable for mold prevention or remediation. So for tenants like Vanisha King, it leaves them with few options. Silver Oaks is a low-income housing complex. Vanisha King tells me she cannot afford to move.
It's mold in the walls that's getting us sick, and then I want to be barricaded in the house and feel comfortable, but I can't. I don't know how to keep explaining to my 5-year-old to clean his nose, and it's not his fault. It's because what we're breathing in.
The attorney looking into the case, Sean Shaw, says this lawsuit is in its earliest phases. He's just beginning to gather the supporting documentation he needs, but feels comfortable it's enough to keep investigating. We've reached out to the PR company representing Silver Oaks Apartments. They have not returned our requests for comment on this potential lawsuit.
Residents make a dangerous discovery in their brand new luxury apartment.
Some residents say they found harmful levels of mold inside their homes. Only on 41 Action News, Sarah Plake joins us live from the complex near 47th and Rainbow in Westwood. Sarah.
Well, these apartments have only been open for a year, and residents tell me they shouldn't have to worry about things like mold. One man we talked to says the mold found inside his apartment was 5 times higher than the mold found out here. Woodside Village was billed as a high-end living option in Westwood. But this resident has a much different experience.
All it's been is a headache ever since I've moved in.
Steven says ongoing issues of leaky windows and mold is forcing his family to stay at a hotel. Emails between Steven and Woodside Village management show the issues go back 6 months.
They said that they would work on repairs. They're still leaking, obviously. So I have concerns.
And it's not just his apartment. An October notice sent out to residents says multiple units had issues with water intrusion and that some people will have to relocate while management fixes it. Then at the beginning of November, another notice offering residents the option to get out of their lease. The building's owner said a mold test came back and the quote vast majority of the results indicate there was no reason for concern. That's including Stevens. But he paid for his own independent report.
It had 1,680 spores per cubic meter of Penicillium aspergillus, which is a mold that can cause health issues.
Woodside Village Management told 41 Action News they learned of several construction-related issues. They say they repaired the few units with mold.
I have given my report to the building. They haven't remediated the problem.
Stevens says the ongoing problem goes against Westwood City Code, and they should investigate.
So I'm just eating costs during that time for hotels and breathing in God knows what.
And the problem got so bad that Stevens' apartment leaked water down into Blue Sushi, that restaurant right below him, 3 different times. We talked to the restaurant, and they confirmed that it happened. In Westwood, I'm Sarah Plake, 41 Action News.
Imagine an apartment covered with mold, bed bugs biting children as they sleep, and rotten floors too dangerous to walk on. Well, this is reality for one Warner Robins woman, and she's demanding her apartment complex do something about it. Berlinda Kennedy lives in the Savannah Apartments complex off Ignaco Drive. She claims she's living in an unhealthy and unsafe environment, and the apartment management isn't doing anything to fix it. Kennedy believes that violates her lease, and now she's refusing to pay her rent.
We have a right as tenants to live in safety, to live in comfort, to live habitable, and the law protects that.
Apartment management is in the process of evicting Kennedy because she stopped paying her rent, but she's fighting it, claiming it's an unlawful and wrongful eviction. She started a petition around the complex asking for other residents who live in similar conditions to stand up with her. Now, I spoke to Leticia Lopez, who works for Savannah Apartments, and she told me Kennedy has not gone to the leasing office to voice her complaints. And we were told late this afternoon that management did go by Kennedy's apartment and it did fix some of the problems. We'll have more on this story tonight at 11, right here on 41 NBC.
Management told us there is no black mold, then forced us off the property and wouldn't answer our questions. But before we spoke with managers here at the Park Apartments, a tenant shared her concerns about safety for her and her neighbors.
All the black mold even around it.
By the water heater.
This right here is unsafe.
In the heating and cooling unit.
I was bawling.
Coming through the wall and above the ceiling.
They both detected for the mold.
Holly Carnes is concerned about possible black mold and what any exposure may have done to her children.
My 1-year-old son was sick for so long that I had to take him to the hospital.
This is the inside of her HVAC system. This is the old air filter.
What was supposed to be a clean filter.
The landlord had it replaced, and the city knows about her concerns.
When it comes to mold, we don't address the mold issue. It's a private property issue. There are no agencies that we're aware of, public agencies, that address a mold issue.
The city can only look at structural code compliance.
This was their way of fixing my mold problem today.
While her apartment problems might get fixed, she fears dealing with their health problems could be harder.
It's just very hard thing to take in. That's why it's one of the worst times of my life.
And KMBC 9 News has learned that when code compliance officers come to check things here at the Park Apartments, the city sends police officers with them because of issues they've had in the past. And that is unique to just this apartment complex.